3000.
All right, my name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by a writer, an entrepreneur, and a counterculture head, WHIZ, the Wizard.
What's up?
Thanks for coming, man.
Too easy.
Is
My
that
pleasure.
is that a decent description? Are you a counterculture head? Are you a writer?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely not just into hip hop, that's for sure. But yeah, I've been into all sorts of cultures throughout my life, but I seem to take them on and live the life. I can't so I'm into something, and hip hop's been a massive chunk of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with punk when I was a teenager.
So you are a fucking counterculture head. Whatever's not happening
sure.
in popular culture, you're about that.
Yeah, that's it.
What else is going on? So let's talk about, man. We'll start at the beginning. I've got a lot to talk about. My notes run deep with this one, man.
Sweet.
And I appreciate you coming in. But let's start at the start. Whereabouts did you grow up? And obviously you're incognito, so you don't have to be too specific. But let's just talk about it.
I grew up in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, out Croydon ways, which was. Yeah, it was all right. It was pretty good. I was pretty suburb proud growing up, Yeah.
BMX bikes? Skateboards? What are kids doing?
Skateboarding, yeah. Croydon Skate Park. We always had the ramp, which is, the biggest ramp in the Southern Hemisphere at the time.
At the time? Well, it actually was?
Yeah.
What are we talking, 2 foot of vert or something?
Nah, it was 3 foot of it, I reckon. It
Really?
was massive. And
Really?
it was
Bigger than Paran back then?
apparently, that
Yeah,
was the
right.
claim.
Right.
Yeah, so, and it didn't have the roll in either. So the
That
only
roll
way.
in was that extra fucking meter of extension. Man.
Yeah. So this was just straight vert. So you could either drop in on the non-vert side or the vert side. And I never dropped in on the vert side. I'm fucking straight up. Yeah, it was hectic. But I've seen a lot of people eat shit at that thing, eh?
Oh,
Growing up.
yeah.
Yeah. It's good fun.
So kids are skating, hanging out in Croydon. It's obviously at the skate park you meet other people who are fucking into other kind of shit, like creative heads. Is that where you first find graffiti or just interesting cultures and different
Yeah.
artistic stuff?
Well, we actually had, in school, we actually had we called it a skateboard team. It was like a crew or something called Douche. We had a tag, the Douche, we used to tag it up.
How do we spell douche so we know?
Dugche.
All right. That's hard for people to read.
Douchebag, maybe.
Douche, yeah.
I don't even know what it It was meant to be the sound of hitting the concrete.
Oh, yeah.
That was what it was. But then everyone was like, "Oh, douchebag," and we're like, "That's even cooler."
Yeah.
So we ran with that. Shout out to all the boys who we did that with. They definitely aren't skating and shit anymore. Neither am I, but yeah. But yeah, so we were doing tags of that, and we were year 10 posse, YTP. So yeah, I suppose skateboarding and tagging definitely did, happen.
Hand in hand.
I made a stencil of my own head when I was younger, when I was underage. It was I had a mohawk. It was a stencil of just literally me just smiling with a mohawk, and I would spray it up at all the local skate parks and all around town and shit.
No shit.
Yeah. That was real young, just me being a scallywag,
Yeah.
wanting to get my face up and everything.
And that's hanging out at the skate park, I guess, is where you meet other people and other dudes who are actually
Yeah.
not just taking fucking,
and
their
school as well,
Yeah.
meeting dudes at school, older heads at school that were into graph and yeah.
own exposing you to hip hop music as well. Are you still in the punk stuff?
Well, I was into a bit of both. We were talking about earlier, Limp Bizkit, when Nookie came out and shit, I was like, "Whoa, this is fucking sick!"
Teenage angst all rolled into one sort of
Yeah, that's
explosive
it. So
3 minutes.
and Beastie Boys were fresh, and Tribe Called, there's all these bands, all these groups, I should say. Yeah, they were all sort of there as well as the punk, And our school, we had a common room where the year 12s were allowed to play music. So I used to find out a lot about music there on the radio. So I had a fairly broad, but then as I got a bit older, I just got more angry and punk as I got to my teenage years, you know. Like 18.
Yep.
And then I went to a club and I broadened my horizons.
So the teenage angst is there, and the anti-establishment stuff's there, and I guess
100%. Like that's what we grew up on. I was actually talking to my mate, who Penky. We were in a band together at school, and it's like we grew up listening to these bands that were so anti-establishment and all this that it's sort of drilled into you, like. Even to this day, where I'm like, fuck that, fuck the law, fuck the government and all this shit. It's sort of like, you know, Sex Pistols, all this shit growing up. I'd go to Croydon Market and like go to this CD stand where they was sold burnt CDs and buy like just whatever. They were $5. I was like Bob Marley or fucking, you know, Sex Pistols or fucking Frenzal Rhomb or fucking all these different bands or So I was into everything really, but yeah.
So hip hop is there, but it's just part of everything else that you're consuming as well.
That's it. And like, you know, we were smoking weed, so like Up in Smoke tour came hand in hand.
It's the first DVD I ever bought, man.
Yeah. And I like even like 10 years after that, I went to America. It's actually a pretty gnarly story.
Well, let's hear it, man.
I went to America to see, like, it was basically like the Up in Smoke reunion where like they did the 2-pack hologram and shit.
Yeah, right. And they had Eminem for that one as well. Was that
he came out? Yeah. They had Eminem, Corrupt, Warren G,
Ice Cube.
Oh, nah, he wasn't there.
Really?
But who else? Fucking 50 Cent, Eminem,
Dr. Dre
and Snoop. They were like the thing. And then the 4D hologram of 2-pack, Wiz Khalifa and Kendrick Lamar as well.
Yeah, right.
All on the same fucking stage at once. It was mental. But anyway, we went there, and I went to Vegas first, and we were meant to drive to like the Grand Canyon, and we put in the TomTom and we got lost.
The TomTom.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Sign of the time.
Yeah. And it took us to the Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, which is like fucking hours out of the way, full Crackville.
Phoenix is that's a wrong state. You're going the wrong direction altogether.
Yeah. And then, so I bought a gun at Walmart. It was like a fucking BB gun. And I ended up fucking, I was just shooting it out the window of the car, and then all of a sudden we're at the Grand Canyon. I'm just shooting like leaves off the trees and shit. Next thing you know, fucking, I'm actually rolling a spliff, and we had this coke, and like we finished the spliff, and I looked up on the hill, and there's like all these people getting ushered away, and I was like, fuck, like we got the whole thing to ourselves. Let's go hard, like let's have a line of coke. And I'm sprinkling it out, and I look around, and there's 6 dudes with machine guns behind me. And we like had to put our arms up in the air, and like it took fucking like 3 hours to get the 3 of us from where we were sitting on the edge of the cliff all the way to the top, because we climbed down there, you know. And it's like the Grand Canyon is deep as, I don't even know how deep it was, but like if we had slipped, we were like slipped to our death. We weren't allowed to touch a tree or the ground to get back up. We had to just do it with just our 2 feet, arms in the air.
So are they apprehending you because of the BB gun?
The BB gun,
or because you're up somewhere where you shouldn't be?
Yeah, so like they're sitting there and they're like, put your hands up. And I turn around and there's just like these guns, and they're like, where's the gun? And I'm like, it's a BB gun. They're
like, in America they don't fuck around, man. You're lucky they didn't shoot you on the spot, dude.
I know. And then they got us to the top, cuffed us, had the guns to our heads, still just yelling at us and shit. And they're like, all right, we're going to walk you to this other car park, which is about a K.
Have you told them you're an Aussie by this stage?
Oh, yeah. They've got our IDs, everything.
Yeah.
Like, and they walked us with their handcuffs in our air, like holding them up. And then another dude with a gun to your head, pushing it into your head. And I was just like, can you put the gun down, man? Like, and they were like, shut the fuck up. You know, we'll fucking shoot you.
So you talked your way out of it?
Yeah. No. They fined us.
Fine's not bad in that situation. You didn't get locked up.
Yeah. Well, if they had found the coke, that would have been a felony. But because it was just a gram of weed and like the gun and whatever causing us, whatever ruckus.
Causing an Aussie scene.
Yeah. And like they literally held their guns out the window of the cars while they were driving away, and we weren't allowed to take our hands off our knees until all the cars were gone, like fucking 6 full drive things with machine guns.
Fuck, man.
I was like, what the fuck?
So the BB gun was a bad idea.
Oh, it was a good idea.
It's makes for a good fucking story.
Yeah, here I am.
I'm sure you got heaps of those fucking stories too, man.
Oh man, I got heaps.
The USA it's a crazy place, and we watch it from over here, and it just like, I don't know, man. Seeing people get shot, like, it can get hectic in Melbourne, but like over there, man, dudes getting shot that are unarmed and stuff. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. No, not like even just like. Say they've been letting off these fireworks in like New York and shit. It's like mental. You watch it online. They do everything 10 times bigger than we do it. Like they do those burnout circles, and they've just got like 10 cars doing burnouts
until someone
someone literally gets hit.
Yeah.
And like the cops are just sitting on the outsides, like don't even know what to do about it. Like it's hectic.
Yeah, it's we look at the US for a lot of inspiration, or a lot of the culture that we're obviously into, with hip hop and graffiti, skateboarding, all that sort of stuff that I'm into, and I presume you are too.
Yeah.
But we want to pinch a little bit of that. But when you look at how hectic some of that stuff is, I'm like, you can sort of think that, like
shit like Swamp Fest and all this stuff. It's like we can never do that over here. There's too many laws like to stop us from doing something like that.
Yeah, the law is there to be broken, but it's also sometimes is there because people are fucking stupid, man.
Yeah.
Like you look at some of the cats, like
for sure.
If there was no laws, there may or may not be anarchy in a bad way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think like everyone does things at their own risk. It's not the venue's fault.
Other people. That's
it's not the promoter's fault. If someone fucks himself up at a fucking festival, that's their fault.
Yeah.
They're living their life, like.
But see,
they can't like. Otherwise, you're gonna have a festival and wrap everyone in bubble wrap. But it's what stops people like me or like everyday people from running a festival, because these fucking public liability insurance and all this bullshit.
But that also comes from. Sorry to cut you off, but America is the home of suing everybody, though. You know what I mean? Like you can get away with whatever, but they also will be the first person to scold themselves with a hot coffee and sue them. You know what I mean?
But it's all under insurance as well.
So it panders into the insurance companies. They're the ones who are really making the money. You know what I mean?
But I just feel like our government laws and regulations are just way too high.
Yeah,
Probably because they pay for the medical as well, so it works out in their favour. They're saving money on medical bills because they're bubble wrapping everyone before they go anywhere.
That is definitely a thing, man. Like I've hurt myself a bunch of times and never paid for fucking anything medical wise, you know what I mean? So we can't criticise that because our medical system is good for that. But we do have too many laws and fucking rules, 100%.
Yeah.
If someone wants to like the seatbelt rule, if someone wants to fucking drive around without a seatbelt on and put their own life at risk, well, that's up to them.
Yeah.
Why do you need to tell them to wear a seatbelt?
Yeah, that's it. Same with the helmet.
Exactly, man. Yeah. I think Australia's one of the only countries, definitely America doesn't have a helmet rule with like bicycles.
Yeah, half the states don't have seatbelt laws and shit.
Yeah, so we just... I don't know. I think Jerry Seinfeld
ride in the back of a ute.
Yeah, I think Jerry Seinfeld said it. Is like, man, we have to come up with these rules to protect people that aren't smart enough to wear the thing to protect their head in the first place.
Yeah, that's it.
We're going fucking around in circles.
Yeah, bro.
All right, so let's go back to what we were talking about before. So you discover hip hop, you discover graffiti, you start writing, like. What are you fucking around with different words? What are you doing? Are you just doing little...
Yeah, I mean, I fucked around with different words when I was growing up, but then sort of like music sort of took over the doing graph, and I was like just partying heaps and like making stupid rap songs and like just making stupid music for years, and then
Seriously, or just making it like taking the piss? Like, are you doing it?
we were taking the piss. We were just having a bit of fun with it, you know. I was right into Aussie hip hop.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, everyone's so serious and everyone's so like, you know, like why can't like we were listening to shit like Redman and Method Man or like,
It's slightly tongue
I
in cheek.
grew up on fucking, you know, CKY and all this shit that was just always like this rat bag, scallywag behaviour. And I'm like, why can't Aussie hip hop? Like Funkors were doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I wanted to do that sort of shit. But the Melbourne scene was a bit fucking too serious for that, you know, like, and people like, a lot of people didn't really want to hear that. You know, there's a lot of beef between like barbecue rap or party rap, you know, and like, you know, you're serious like boom bap styles from Melbourne, you know.
Yeah.
Which is cool, I get it, because I love both sides. That's the thing. I love both sides of it. And
There's a time and place for everything.
yeah. And I was saying it on my Instagram the other day, like everyone hates on shit way too quickly and everyone's got their side and they're going to hate everyone else if they're not on their side, which is like shit, you know, like.
Do you find that with time and maturity that's slowly changing though?
Yes and no. Like you think it is because you're getting older and you're surrounded by older people. Then when you work at the graph shop and you hear all the other younger kids, you're like, nah, they're pretty much the same.
But they're younger, so they haven't hit that maturity yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but they're the ones making the new shit, you know?
They're
Like
the tastemakers now, I guess, because they're the ones that are, yeah.
that's it. What they say, they're the ones selling shows out. The older heads aren't, you know? They're the ones buying the merch. The older heads aren't, you know? Like, well, they do, but like the younger kids, when they see, they want it, and then they've all got to have it, you know? Like, where like, yeah, the older heads, it's just not like, you know, like I should, like my last shirt run, I should have done fucking way more smalls and shit, you know. Like,
Because the young kids.
yeah, and like they're the ones that are gonna be like,
They're the future.
they're the future, bro. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Too many double XLs for fat bastards like me.
Yeah.
So I want to delve into the graffiti thing because, like, I'm not in that scene, but I really want to find out a little bit more about it as an outsider looking in because I don't know how it actually works. I know some people that are in it, but I'd like to ask a few questions about that and kind of give the other people that are listening and watching fucking a bit more of an insight. You chill with that?
Yeah.
So
As much as I can, yeah.
well, yeah, totally, man. So, like, when you're developing your style, you're doing your, you find your tag, you develop your throwy, which personally I think your throwy that you've got is one of the sickest throwies around Melbourne. I personally think that.
Thanks. So yeah.
No, man, I dig it, like the beanie and everything. Like, how did you sort of come up with that, or like, is there a meaning behind that? Obviously,
Yeah, that's my fucking throwy. That's the meaning. Yeah. Like, yeah, like that's one thing. Like, you know, you got to understand graphs to know if you've never done one, you're never gonna appreciate it like for what it is. But like, I came up with that. Like I was toying around with throwies and shit, and like was just getting my flow, and then my mate like Coral, I was at his joint, and he came up with like a little throwy, and it was sort of similar to what I got now in a way, and I took that and put my own spin on it and made it my own, you know. But then once I got that throwy, that was it. That was like I'm pumping it, and it's changed a lot actually.
yeah,
Through a graffiti writer's eyes anyway.
Yeah.
It's changed heaps, but through the average eye, you'd probably say it looks the same, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it might have some subtle little, you know, things that have changed, but I think for a person, you know, traveling down the street, they might see it and they see that repetition, you know, they may not see the subtleties, changes that you might pick up as someone who's doing it.
Yeah. Even like if you don't look at graph, like you're gonna find it hard to read it. Where like if you're looking at it all the time, it takes years to like read pieces and you know like
Still to this day, I think some people who are just oblivious to that, they're not they've never paid any attention to hip hop culture, they'll see some pieces and they will not be able to make heads or tails of it. They just would have no idea.
No.
You know what I mean? It's only probably like 5%, maybe less, that people can actually read what it says or take the time to read it.
Even I've got the most simple style when it comes to pieces, and people walk past and they're like, what does it say? And I'm just
Really? They just miss that whole...
Yeah, and all I do is put like a few little lines and
like a serif.
Yeah, it's like, really? I don't know. Yeah, but some people just like, I don't know, their brain just automatically goes, oh, I can't read that. That's graffiti or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they shut down.
But yeah, so as for like my throwy and shit, like that's something that's grown with me and come with me everywhere I've been in the last like 12 something years,
Yeah.
I've tried to put that everywhere I could possibly put it, like, and I've had times where I've been going out every single night of the week, and then also times where I'm just like, go a couple of weeks without even picking up a can.
Yeah.
But
so with the obviously now you've got means to find your supplies, but in the early days,
yeah,
how do dudes come up with their how do they acquire their supplies?
$2 shops straight away.
Yeah.
Straight up. Yeah.
Aussie exports.
Yeah, reject shop. Like, that was what was popping. Like, but
were they red hot on it there though, or you'd actually fork out the $2 for a can?
No, it's like steal some, but like, yeah, they were only $2.50.
Yeah.
And like, I wasn't doing pieces or anything, so I'd just get a can and put it in my backpack.
And that'll last you.
Yeah, probably end up blowing it up or something, before it even ran out.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, I wasn't really smashing graffiti back in those days but then when I, like, got that throwy, which was probably like, what, 23, 24, something like that. So pretty late, really, when you look at these young kids these days. But, yeah, so, like, when I got that throw, that's when I really started to get into it, and I was going to Giant.
Yeah.
Buying paint.
North Melbourne?
because I was going to Obese all the time, so I was like, oh, I might get some cans,
Yeah.
And just do some shit in the
They
backyard.
were expensive back then as well.
Yeah, relatively.
Like they're more expensive than now, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to Hill Street, you get fucking $6, $40. But yeah, no, like, but then it was cheaper to go to, like, This Is It.
Yeah.
And so I was going there, just, buying cans and whatever. And obviously racking from Bunnings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. They've been a major sponsor throughout the years.
Acquiring the materials however you can. But back then, I guess, you got your hands on it however you can. Now, it's a bit different for kids because there is specific graph shops, and those dudes aren't going to come and rack from you or from somewhere else. You know what I mean? They're going to show respect, or do they? Do kids come and try that shit on?
We've had one kid, but like, nah, people got respect, man. Like, it's not worth racking your cans and getting done, like, by the graph community or whatever.
Yeah, you just be ousted.
When you can go rack from Coles or fucking Office Works or whatever and sell the shit, you can rack something worth $200, that you can put in your pocket and sell it on eBay. So more people are doing that these days than even stealing their cans, Like, there's a few heads out there, I won't name names, but there's still people out there racking tins.
And are they doing that because that's the essence, the core of the culture?
For sure, yeah.
Because they believe...
And it's like, the more you can get, like, you're sort of limited by how much money you've got if you don't rack. Mm-hmm. You're never going to be a king if you don't rack your paint because you can't work all the time.
You've got limited resources and limited hours.
Yeah, so you sort of like, you got to go steal your paint and that's what you got for the night, and you do that every day sort of thing. Or like, you might go a couple of days of just going to different Bunningses and Office Workses and getting whatever you need, and then...
That shit's pretty red hot now though. Like, you open up the things at Bunnings. Like, if I just want to buy a can of paint to paint my fucking shed, it's like, woo, and everyone's fucking onto you. I'm sure there's ways.
There's definitely ways.
So, all right. You're acquiring your supplies, and like, I'm just trying to fucking get my head into the whole sort of scene. And then, so when you're out, you're painting, you're hanging out with other crew. You obviously you must run into other heads that you see doing similar sort of stuff. You're making friends and beef starting. Like what?
Yeah, I've definitely made mates just on the street.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you see someone with a can, you're like, fuck, what are you?
You can look at them. You don't even need to see them. You can look at somebody and tell by the way that they're carrying themselves and how you can.
Yeah.
If they're carrying a Coles bag.
You know what someone looks like when they're about to do a tag even, you know?
Yeah.
You can see the way they're walking up to the wall. You know, they've got something in their hand. Like, I don't know, you can sell it from a mile away. But, like, I've definitely met people just, like, out at night, just graphing, and then you see someone else in a laneway and like, fuck, yeah, you know, rah, rah. But then also, you know, you're out drinking as well. You go to the bench, you're meeting dudes there, and, like, once you're in it, you're meeting heaps of people all the time. Like, yeah.
And I guess there's heads you get along with, there's heads you don't get along with. People
Absolutely.
Sort of stay in their own sort of thing.
Yeah.
People have got it's interesting now. Is like, obviously graffiti's been around for a long time. There's subcultures within graffiti. You've got the heads that are all about, or they're against the anti-style sort of stuff. You've got heads that are like, nah, you only paint this way. Now you've got roller kids, you've got sticker kids. Like, there's a lot of subgenres within that whole graffiti culture.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but like, that's a good thing. And I think like nowadays people are sort of like okay with that. Where like when it first started happening, people were so angry about it and like.
About stickers or rollers or whatever, or the anti-style. Yeah, the anti-style thing's very
even
polarizing.
Stickers. Anything that's new in graffiti will always get criticised by the heads that don't do it.
Yeah.
You know? Even like train riders be like, I don't paint the streets, I paint trains. It's because they don't paint the streets.
Yeah.
You know, like, or same thing with like people who paint the streets and don't paint trains. They're like, oh, why do you do that? It's no point, rah, rah. But like, it's just everyone sort of, you know,
Well, and it's cool that.
But it's more like it's more accepted now. I think like train riders are like accepting that street riders are fucking getting acknowledged and vice versa and shit. You know.
Yeah, I've heard people say that don't paint trains. They're like, well, why would I do that to put so much heat on myself when I could just be coming and painting these chill spots and do it forever? You know what I mean? Because if you're not painting trains,
but you don't get a rush.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not in it, man. Again, I'm just an outsider trying to get my head around the whole thing. But it's cool the way that now everyone who wants to express themselves in some sort of illegal fashion can, and then they can do it, and other dudes are going to be accepting to an extent.
Yeah. You're always going to get haters.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think it's sort of more accepted, and like people are accepting that there's other subcultures of graph almost, you know.
And within the crews and within the different cliques, there is people that are doing their own sort of thing, and that's all cool now. Everyone's like, yeah, those guys do roller stuff, and those guys do...
Yeah, well, it's not like... I suppose there is dudes doing roller stuff and, like, roller fills and shit, but, like...
That wasn't happening 10 years ago or 20 years ago, was it? Like, dudes using rollers to do the fills? It was? It was.
Absolutely. It's been around since the dawn of time.
Right, so they've been,
Like... It's like a great way to fucking do a cheap piece when you're at a legal wall even.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then roller fucking, like, I don't know, I grew up on the Lilydale line, so, like, even, like, hippies and shit were using rollers to stop logging and shit like this, you know, like, the roller paint's been around for ages. Actually, some of the oldest tags, you had Duggo in, some of the oldest tags that I've ever seen in Melbourne are underground in the drains.
Yeah.
By this dude, I forget what he wrote, but it was like 77, I think, was like...
Duggo talked about this dude who was in the 50s, man.
The 50s, yeah. And that was when they were building the drains.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the thing, and I mentioned this to someone else the other day. They say that, you know, graffiti started in the 70s, But man, there was people in Melbourne. This dude was writing his name back then. Like it's been happening since the hieroglyphics. Like,
I'll tell you what. I went to Mutawinji, saw some Aboriginal paintings there that had been capped by an explorer who was with Burke and Wills.
Yeah, right.
People have been capping people and doing their tag for years.
They've been capping for yeah. Well, yeah. There's obviously Indigenous paintings have been
graffiti's almost a subculture from that. That's like
arguably it's the original form of artistic expression because before there was canvas, there was definitely cave walls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's been happening forever.
Yeah, but people have been doing like monikers, like that's what this dude had, and it's even written on the wall. Like there's a little plaque, like this is so and so who was trying to take over the land and was marking his mark to and like I can't remember what it was, but it's like a triangle or some shit. But yeah, it's fucking
Illuminati shit.
Yeah, it's probably right. Who knows, Rockefeller?
Yeah, all that.
Fuck the Illuminati.
Fuck him. All right, we'll be back to the guests in a moment. But if you could, just hit that subscribe button. I need everyone to fucking subscribe. We're not asking for any money. It's not hard. It only takes a second. Hit the subscribe button and help us out. Cheers. So with like graffiti, because I still want to want to dig in a little bit because I don't know.
Yeah.
There's rules, even though it's like people say it's like a vigilante type fucking cavalier kind of thing, but there are rules to it. Like So do you want to just for the people that don't get it? Do you want to explain some of the rules or what? Like obviously there's no hard and fast rules, but sort of the basic rules.
Yeah, like everyone's sort of like the rules have been like laid out in like fucking 50 different documentaries over the years. Like everyone sort of knows. Like even to the point where like you're doing a piece and people be like, oh, well, what is it? Like I know you can do a piece over a tag and all this shit. Like, but like they're like everyone sort of knows that there's heaps of other sort of like rules that it's not as simple as what it's fucking set out to be.
Because rules...
It might be a throw up that's been there for 10 years. You're not going to go do a piece over that.
Yeah.
Might be a tag of someone who's died.
That's a rule.
You can't do shit over that. Like, and so like it goes so deep into like, even to like the respect someone's got on the street to like, yeah.
So if you like, from my understanding, if you are going to put a piece over a piece, you've got to sort of burn their piece to make sure that is actually...
Yeah, but then that's in the eyes of the fucking viewer. So
but then you have to back your piece that it's going to be more well respected than theirs, or I don't know, like there's...
Yeah.
And that's where I guess the beef comes into it. Someone goes over you, you go over them, and that's and it snowballs.
Yeah, that's it.
But
depending on who you're beefing and what crew they're involved with,
And then that's the other thing, I guess, because you could be guilty by association. Someone might go over your shit just because you're associated with them and they went over something that you did. And that sort of shit, I guess, happens as well.
Yeah. That's why you sort of like, it's best to stay out of trouble because people are going to go over your shit. Like, you get sort of like thrown out, even cancelled pretty quickly in the graph scene,
Yeah, where people could, Well, they were cancelling people before it was a woke culture thing. They were just saying this guy's ousted because he's been a fucking...
Well, in the graph scene, people have cancelled some of the biggest artists in Australia, known to Australia, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for just being fuckheads. Like,
yeah, or just like... excuse me.
Now you've caught it.
Yeah, or just like selling out or like...
Well, there's a fine line with that stuff, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like... It's interesting because something that's so counterculture, something that's so against the grain, but if someone's going to make money from that, then they lose credibility? Like it becomes a very unusual sort of situation,
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like how you go about it, like dudes are like, I don't know, they're like... There's so many ways, there's so many things. Like I was saying before, like if someone's getting notoriety, they're gonna find a way to go, that guy's a toy, you know,
Yeah.
like because they're not getting it or whatever.
Tall poppy syndrome type stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So you think that there is tasteful and artistic ways to make money from graffiti without totally selling out? Is that the kind of mindset? Or does that take the
I
essence?
can't say shit because I'm selling my own shirts with a throwy on it.
No, but is that like, because everyone wants to monetize their art in some way that they don't have to have a fucking real job, you know? So there's got to be a balance.
Well, as I was saying also before, like if you're doing it all the time, you can't have a job so much, you know, like so you're finding ways to make money, but it's just the way people do it. And it's like you see some corny thing and you're like, oh, fuck, you know, I wouldn't be paying that for whatever money. And I can't say shit as well because I've worked for big companies doing walls, you know, but I quit because it sucked. I hated it. Made me sort of not want to pick up a can, you know, like.
Because it took the essence of the art out of it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and you're doing it. It's different when you're doing something for someone else. When you're doing it for you, that's like fun, and you get that time to like. You know, you can do it quick. You can take your time. It's like you can stop whenever you want. But if once you've started, you've got a clean wall at someone's fucking house. You're like, all right. Doing those first markups is like, we're going for it here, you know what I mean? Like, if I fuck this up, you can't even repaint it. Like, in the streets, they just buff over it. But there's drip marks and all sorts of shit. You can't have that in someone's lounge room, can you?
On the floor and shit.
Yeah. It's totally different ball game, like. But yeah, like, I don't know. I had a fucking stall at, like, the Sexpo. Like, and I was literally, like, there because they wanted someone to fucking paint people's names live in the fucking place. And like,
it's an odd thing.
Yeah.
Like right next to the dildos and shit, and then this dude's gonna paint your name.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, why not?
And so like that's fucking selling out to the max, you know what I mean? So like,
but Sexpo or Sex has kind of got a bit of a fucking authenticity to it, a little bit. It's not like you're at the fucking Careers Expo, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know. I was mates with the dude who like ran the bong shop, so that's how I got the gig, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I was like, fuck, am I selling out? And I was like, fuck it, who cares? Like, fuck, like, I'm going to get this opportunity once. And I had a sick time.
Yeah.
I, like, hardly slept for 4 days. I was actually hardly at my stall. I was just mingling with everyone there.
Met
just
some
had like a
shit.
bender. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's an experience. It's better than having a fucking full-time job that you won't remember that 4 days of the full-time job.
I've got stories about that joint that I probably shouldn't even say on here.
Well, that means I'm going to ask you, tell us some stories.
Oh,
come on, man.
I got a girlfriend.
Well,
I didn't back then.
I didn't back then. But look, if you want to tell your story, there's a forum for you to tell it.
Yeah, I might skip on that one.
Oh, fair enough.
If you want to know the story, ask me in person. Actually, I don't want heaps of people coming up and ask me about this.
But it brings me into another thing though. Like you said that you'd had a few drinks and whatever, and obviously alcohol and drugs, I guess, plays a part in graffiti and kind of gives people that Dutch courage and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But man, I don't even do graph or anything, but it leads me just to like a thought process that sometimes even just when I'm drinking beers, I'll wake up the next day being like, fuck, did I do that? Did I do that?
Yeah.
You must wake up some days and be like, I don't even remember painting that, or did I get up there? Yeah. And like you get that sort of, is there some sort of graph anxiety the next day?
Yeah, some people would. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like, yeah.
But like you don't get this thing like, fuck man, I was actually up on that bridge, I was doing this, it was fucking dangerous, or that sort of thing. The next day you don't sort of get that sort of, oh man, that was nuts.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's been my whole life was that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not too.
It's not
much
specific to
different.
graffiti. It's just that,
Yeah. So man, I've done heaps of crazy shit when I've been drunk.
Yeah.
Man, I got fucking hit by. I got bashed by security and then hit by a car on fucking Fitzroy Street in St Kilda once. Like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like I was being a dick. Like, I stole a bottle of vodka from behind the bar. That was like a party trick of mine.
Yeah.
When I was fucking going out in my heyday.
What year are we talking here? I spent a lot of time around Fitzroy Street, man.
Oh, yeah. It was around the Prince Band Room days when, like, fucking John Course and Grant Smiley were doing their...
One Love.
One Love. It was around those times.
2004, 2005.
Twister.
Yeah, Twister, yep.
Yeah.
Warren.
It was actually at Area 51, if you remember that joint.
So, yeah, Area 51 was just down the road.
Rabada.
Yep, Rabada was there. So that laneway next to Area 51 and Rabada on Jackson Street in 2005-06, I used to live down there, man.
Oh, true, yeah, right.
And it was like, even if you didn't go out on Friday, Saturday night, because that's when St Kilda was fucking cranking.
Yeah.
You could hear everything, man.
Yeah, for sure. And, like... So I was in the club there, and I'd sculled like a bottle of vodka with this other dude in the toilets.
Yeah.
And then it was back, the dude was playing vinyls, and I was like, just like, this song went off, and I like went to do a wheel back, like I went, and everyone went wild, but like people didn't really do wheel backs with house music, you know.
Well,
like,
you did.
But I was just like, you know, fucking pissed off my head. I was like, wheel back, whoa. And then he fucking, like, went, don't do that again, cunt. Right. I was like, crowd fucking loved it, cunt. Just, like, did it again. He's like, fuck you. So I just pulled the fucking cords out the back of the thing. Just drunk on coke. Coke's bad. I don't do that shit. Yeah, and then, obviously, security came up. 2 dudes grabbed my arms, and 1 dude and just fucking broke my nose. Knocked me out. I slid out on the road, and then my mate was trying to get a cab, and I actually offered the security guards out while I was like half unconscious, like, come out here, come. I was like, dumbass. And then my mate's like, I can't get a cab, and I'll get a cab, and I just stood in the middle of the road and just fucking put my arm up, like, stop.
Yeah.
Can't even stop.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's fucking...
Full on, man.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to bounce back from that one?
Oh, I was fucking on the roof of the thing, fucking hitting the windscreen. I was like pretty hurt, but like when you're drunk, you're just indestructible. You just get up, the broken arm.
Coke helps
keep
too.
Going, yeah. And like, yeah, I literally was like banging on I was on the roof of the thing, and he was banging on the top, and he drove and put his brakes on. I flew off the front. Yeah.
Jeez.
I made it home. I didn't go to hospital. No,
That's it.
Yeah. Just that was just like, I was getting bruised up and fucking broken bones like nearly every weekend. Like, maybe not broken bones every weekend, but I was getting injuries from just either jumping off something into a hedge or fucking jumping in a trolley or getting in a fight, or between all those things, I was just constantly just fucking wrecking myself, you know. It's probably why my body's so fucked now.
Yeah, man, like, and that sort of mid-2000s is not like that's sort of that jackass stuff is happening as well. You're like, fuck, man, Bam can jump into a hedge and fucking trolley.
Look at him now.
Yeah, he's cooked, isn't it? It's a little bit sad, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, fuck, like his life he's lived, fuck, no wonder he's fucked on the piss, you know.
It's
but that's how bad alcohol is, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't try to refrain from drinking or like getting drunk, you know, like, especially if I'm out, you know, maybe if you're having a fucking glass of wine at home or whatever, you know, but if you're out and about, it's just going to cause fights to get done doing graffiti.
Yeah.
Just like some bullshit.
And I know a lot of dudes who just don't drink at all anymore that are like our age because they just are like, fuck, man, I don't trust myself, so I just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that people that can drink a little bit and they can't, then they're like, I've got it under control. I think that's the best way to have it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Everyone's different.
And like some dudes are fucking better off drinking than smoking, and like so, you can never really say to someone, oh, no, this is bad for everyone or whatever. Sometimes things can be beneficial in certain ways, other people and others not, you know. But it's an easy thing with addiction to be like, this is good for me. Oh, I'm all right. Yeah, it's not like things like they'll talk to you, drugs and alcohol and shit, and they'll tell you that it's okay. They'll tell you that it's acceptable. Same with weed smokers, crackheads. They're always like, yeah, but I need this to fucking keep my day. Like, all right, I'm on the top, you know.
That's the scary thing.
It's this addiction to
the functional
talking
ones.
To you. Yeah.
The functional. That's the thing. Then, like, there was a dude at a local shop that I go to, and I've always been like, that guy's always perky or whatever. I was there today, and I'm like, fuck, man, I reckon he might actually be like a functional shardhead. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people, and
there's
just
heaps.
Yeah, but like they definitely are out there. But I just thought this guy was always like excitable and chatty and that sort of thing. And then it just dawned on me today. I'm like, fuck, I reckon, and they still hold down their jobs. They do what they got to do, but it's just not a great way to be.
Also, like, there's people out there who are just fucking off tap.
Yeah,
you know, like, I know people that you look at them and talk to them and go, fuck, he's definitely on something, but they're not.
They're wide different, yeah.
Yeah. And then some dudes, like, are real quiet and you wouldn't think anything of them. And then you're like, oh, that guy's a crackhead.
Yes, I know.
Everything does different things to different people. And like
it's like Dexies, you know what I mean? Like, some people it keeps them up, other people it levels them out.
Yeah, well, I'm prescribed them, so... Yeah.
So you're ADHD.
Yeah.
And you take them?
Yeah.
I've got mates that no. I've got mates that are like that should be on that shit, and they just decide to smoke weed all the time. And I'm like, well, you're swapping one medication with the other. You got the argument that weed's fucking natural.
I take them. Say if I've got a bunch of emails or a whole bunch of shit to post out.
You need to focus.
I need to take it for that. But other than that, nah, man. Like, even then, I'll try my hardest to get everything done without them. Because it's just fucking... They take who you are away from... Like I think ADD is this fucking special thing to have, and like it shouldn't have a bad stigma. It should have a good stigma. I think you should be thinking, that you're blessed to have this special, to be different.
Yeah, you're just wired a little bit different.
Yeah. And like, if people took that away and just said, all right, you've got a fucking advantage actually, and added as that, and people like, especially because people with ADD, you know, they take things on board a lot, and like. You think about things a lot more than what someone else would. Yeah. So you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Oh, I'm going to change that. If you scrap that and think, I've got to use and figure out how you can use these hyper focus to your advantage and shit. Yeah. Then it's actually an advantage.
Do you find so when you're doing something like graffiti, to have that, it's a positive. That helps you because it makes you more focused on the task at hand and going out and just getting it done.
Yeah.
So, and I guess you can put that focus towards anything, and you just happen to use graffiti. But anyone with ADHD or AD, I know they're different, but they're sort of similar in a respect, ADD and ADHD.
Yeah. Well, one, you're just not so hyperactive, you know? Yeah. Like, I think I have moments where I'm, like, really hyperactive, and then other moments when I'm more just, like, dazed. Like, you know, you'll ask me a question, I'll be like, what'd you say? Yeah. You know? Like, some shit like that happens. Like, fucking... And, yeah, like... If everyone out there who's autistic or fucking ADD or whatever, that's an advantage you've got. Like, don't ever fucking think of it as anything else than that. I've had people bring me down my whole life, and like, it's just like this fucked up stigma. It's just because you're not as good at schoolwork. Well, you're way better than fucking at doing these other things over here that no one's fucking doing than anyone else. Like, yeah, just go do it. Forget about fucking school. If you've got ADD, you're going to learn what you need to know to do the things that you want to do. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's all you need to know. And, like, and eventually you like, because you're inquisitive as well, you know, and, like, empathetic.
Yeah.
Empathetic.
Yeah.
So, like, you're just taking on everything and taking on board. Like,
But
you love to learn, you know? It's like, but when you get put in a fucking chair and go, learn this, you're like, I can't. But if you've fucking got nothing to do, all you want to do is learn, you know? So it's like, just like, use it to your advantage. That's it.
It's interesting, man. Like a lot of people that I went to school with that maybe were the most sort of academic people definitely haven't ended up being the most successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's, I think that there's a lot of and it depends on what you fucking brand as successful. Maybe they've been successful as in they've made some money, but I don't think they're the most happy out of the other people. I think the
That's
more
right.
creative kids and the ones that kind of were a bit sort of looked down upon as the troublemakers are the ones that are probably more happy and just in a better fucking place in their life than the ones that were the academic
And that's
kids.
what we're all chasing at the end of the day.
Happiness,
like,
man.
When you go, oh, I'm going to be a doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor? Because it's a good job and I'm going to be comfortable with my life and rah. But are you going to be comfortable? It's this, like, I swear, this, like, when you're in school and they say, what do you want to be when you're older? That's like something that they drill into your head. Because I can remember when I was doing it and I was, like, saying all these weird things and they'd be like, you can't be that. You got to be something better. You got to aim higher.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, why can't I be a musician?
Yeah.
I want to be in a rock band. And they would always steer you away from that, like, thing. And until you drew a picture of a fire truck and a fucking fire truck. It's like, that's some psychological shit that's embedded into us.
You'd hope it's not like that anymore. You'd think that it's not like that anymore, but I don't know.
I reckon they're still asking, what do you want to be when you're older? I reckon that's a part of the curriculum.
But
why is it? Why is that such a thing? Like, how does a kid expect to know what they're going to be when they're older? They don't even know how to fucking do their shoelaces.
Yeah. No, I remember saying the same thing. I drew myself with long hair and said I wanted to be in a band. I didn't play any fucking instruments. I was in grade 2, but I thought that was cool, you know?
Yeah.
But, it's interesting that, like, I'd like to think that now that fucking schools don't say, well, you can't do that because you can. Man, there's a dude that I went to school with who hopefully he'll come on the show eventually soon. And he played football, and I remember the teachers are like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going to play footy, right?
Yeah.
And he said that, and they're like, you're not going to play football because we hear this all the time, and no one fucking plays professional football.
Yeah.
And he did for like 12 years.
There you go.
And he went back to the school, and he said, well, fucking, I'm a footballer now. Like, what are you going to do? So a lot of those kids don't become footballers. A lot of the kids don't become musicians. But the fact that the teachers say to you, you can't do that is fucked. Because some of those, he might be that 1%. But he fucking did it.
Yeah. Like, I could have been, that's right. And, like, that's what I was saying with, like, NDIS and shit. There is sort of, like, avenues where you can sort of learn shit a bit more. But I don't know.
We're starting to understand this spectrum thing a lot more now because when we were younger, they just didn't understand it as much, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So now at least we understand, like, people are starting to come to terms with it and there is some sort of...
I was like, literally people, like, I feel like it's almost cool to have ADD or autism now. When I was growing up, it was, like, the worst thing ever and you got called the boy who took pills and, like, rah, and, like... And it was never an advantage. It was never like, but now, I don't know, it's almost like people are like dying to go down and get like diagnosed with something, you know, like
my partner
which
was
is cool, but
my partner was telling me that like on social media, there's this whole trend of people like self-diagnosing themselves with ADHD because it's like, I haven't seen it because I'm not that deep on the TikTok or whatever, but she said it's like influencers are like self-diagnosing them, and that's kind of fucked because they're trying to take something that may or may not be a bad thing or positive, doesn't matter, but they're using it, and it's not like, you can't self-diagnose yourself. You need a doctor to tell you that you've got this condition. Yeah,
that's right. And just like, it's easy to put yourself in this category of like, I've got ADD, that's why I'm bad at shit, you know, which I suppose I've been guilty of, but like,
You
The thing is, like, oh, you say you got diagnosed at a late age. Well, guess what? They took me out of class to fucking assess me because they were like, "There's something wrong with this kid." You know what I mean? That's the difference. I grew up with I got shamed for it and because I was different. They weren't that different. They didn't even know they had it.
Yeah.
You know, which it's all good. Like, it's all good. And like, it explains, like, I understand why people get late diagnosed and shit, because it explains a lot of the reasons why they are. But these people just self-diagnosing and all this shit, it's like, yeah, you didn't get your washing done and you're fucking but that's just because you're lazy. Like, don't blame fucking ADD. Yeah, of course, when you fucking take Dexies, it makes you do the washing. It makes everyone do the washing. It's fucking basically meth in a tablet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck.
Yeah, the whole influencer thing of it, whether it's that or any other trends that they try and jump on, just makes me fucking sick, man. Like, just do things because you want to do it, not because you think you've got some fucking audience out there that's going to go, good on you for fucking now. Like, it's pathetic, man.
Yeah, but also, like, you can't fucking hate on people. Like I'll keep saying it. You've got to fucking let people live and let live. You're not going to have the same experience as someone else. You're not going to fucking, agree on everything. But like, you don't have to fucking argue about it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a thing that's starting to... I'm noticing, just talking to a lot more people are starting to, if our vintage, our age... starting to be a bit more acceptable now going by that mantra, live and let live, when maybe 10 years ago people were a bit like, fuck that, you know what I mean? People are starting to mature a little bit more now.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Man, we've chatted a lot about the graffiti stuff and obviously with this mental health thing that I didn't have on my notes, but we've got there as well.
Yeah.
But we haven't even really talked about the fucking pirate radio and the DIY ethos of that sort of stuff. So for anyone who doesn't know what WHIZ FM is, give us a fucking quick, brief rundown about what fucking WHIZ FM is.
WHIZ FM is was a pirate radio station. Until we got shut down, which was inevitable, but and that's how it sort of started, and then it became a collective of artists and graph writers. It was very graffiti influenced from all the DJs I would try and get on. A lot of them were graph writers too, so I was trying to make a radio station off that. Because that's what I'm into. That's what everyone who I'm around is into. So, like, it just makes sense, you know?
Yeah. So it's now become something bigger than you ever anticipated it to be from its early incarnation.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's sort of slowed down at the moment, but I'm going to be starting it soon again. But, yeah, no, like... I never thought it was going to be anything more than me talking shit live on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know? And
which is how any good fucking idea is born, really, because when you don't have high expectations and preconceived ideas of where it's going to go, that's the birth of a good fucking product, you know?
Yeah, that's it. And it was just so funny how we just did it so sketchy and raw, yeah, and people could see that, and people love that, you know, that's it was so funny, man, setting up the aerial and shit. Shout out to Koza and G-Tang and Dentar. Who else helped me?
So this is the original transmitting aerial you're talking about?
Yeah. Putting that up at this place was just hilarious. We had to break in there at night. And we had these big aluminium poles trying to get them up the staircase, banging up all the stairs, and
But as riders, you're used to doing those sort of missions.
Yeah, and fucking exactly, yeah. And in your head, you see these graph videos and you see everyone hiding in the bush, sneaking up, whispering and shit, but it's always this bicker, There's always bickering in the yard, like, fuck, shut up. Like, no, fucking,
Because people are on edge.
it's always, yeah, when you're doing a mission or whatever. And that's what WHIZ FM was, setting it up. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Big Sharky. He came up there with me.
Yeah.
That was funny, as he was pretending to be like a spotter in the army, looking over the edge. Like, army crawling to the edge of the building while I'm fucking joining wires and shit like this. Oh, we just had fun with it. We're like radioing into the fucking people down there. Like, it should have been a TV show. Like, and then to watch like people just do nothing or whatever.
That was because I've watched that show.
Yeah.
And for us in Australia, man, pirate radio wasn't a big thing. We didn't really have it here, but obviously in that whole UK scene, it was massive, and it was like it was just I think every sort of area had their own, at least one pirate radio station.
Yeah, and like those dudes were actually doing it, man. And when you do it yourself and you rewatch it, you can tell that they were actually living that life.
Corrupt FM.
Yeah, because down to like when they're setting up their aerial and shit, it's just like. And just like everything about it, the fucking soundproofing, the noise complaints, like that's just like textbook what happened to us. You know what I mean? Like it was like it's fucking hilarious. And like even those dudes like Grinder and Beats and Steves and shit, they like I was watching a battle in the UK, and there they are in the crowd in the background.
They're real.
Like,
they're real.
Yeah. Yeah, they're real heads. Japati G and shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's a rapper.
Yeah.
Like that. That's so.
So they're almost a parody of themselves to an extent.
100% they are. They've got it to a T because they've like that's how they've done it. Like for sure. Shout out to that Steve's dude. He's fucking hilarious. Like. Yeah, 'cause he wrote it all or whatever.
Really? Yeah, man, I'll have to rewatch that, man, because that was fucking good viewing and just funny. And, like, even though I can't fucking associate with starting a pirate radio station, you can just laugh at it from fucking
Absolutely. I thought it was funny as when I first seen it. But, yeah, that's what I was saying. This is like when you've done it yourself and you see all the little fine details that they've really got in there, it's like fucking...
The egg cartons and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, peanut dust. Oh, yeah, when they were going around trying to get the egg cartons. Yeah, bro. Like, literally, I've been doing that shit. Like, not egg cartons, but I fucking drove around every carpet joint in fucking Melbourne going through their bins till I found someone that wouldn't yell at me to get their fucking underlay. Like,
soundproof that shit.
Yeah, we had fucking... The neighbour fucking throwing eggs through the window. Because we used to leave the window open with the fan on to try and get the joint smoke out.
Yeah.
There was no smoking in that building whatsoever. And fuck, we had parties there during COVID and shit. Like, and they were throwing eggs through the fucking window. Like, we had this little wall with like the neighbour, and ended up getting kicked out of that room because of that.
Yeah. You're going to have crew come through there, especially in a fucking time like COVID, man. You're going to get some heat for sure.
Yeah, man. I got fucking mad fines.
But you don't have to pay them anymore, though, do you?
I think it's gone to my fines Victoria, yeah. I didn't go to court.
Add them to that. No, I think some of those, I don't know how. I think some
That's
of those.
That's what they say. They don't fucking minus anything. They put it on your fucking bill.
Yeah. It's, the whole. Oh, man, I don't even want to really get down into the whole COVID thing because we all know how fucking shit it was. And now I'm just trying to leave that behind. You know what I mean?
For sure, bro.
But so the pirate radio thing, like, we didn't have it here. We did have, like, little glimpses of cool radio that we could listen to that PBS would do Formula on a Saturday night, and we would have listened to that. But we had to fucking, like, that was like Saturday night, I don't know, what, 8 till 10 or something like that. You'd have to do that. We didn't have this sort of 24-hour a day place that you could consume music that you liked and listen to other stuff.
Yeah, man.
So I really feel like we missed out on that a bit, like that pirate radio thing growing up here. I don't think it was happening at all.
There actually was, speaking to people like J Red and shit.
Really?
I think it was like Street FM, I think was a thing, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like...
Yeah, I think maybe Kiss. Even.
Kiss, there was, So when I was in high school, that was very... But I think that was like the community-funded type scenario.
Yeah. But like, what was the fucking? What was
No,
the
I was
question
just saying
again?
we didn't have that sort of, we didn't have anything like that culture here to an extent. So
Yeah,
it's cool that, I'm envious of places like, the UK that did have that culture.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, and that's the point I wanted to get across. Like, we didn't have that, but like, we sort of like. There's always been this like, oh, how did grime get brought to Australia? Who was it? Who was buying the CDs and bringing them? Because there wasn't that many people doing it.
Yeah.
But like, I can remember like, Dizzy Rascal being on Triple J on
The Boy in the Corner record, I think.
yeah. So like that was like 2002,
Oh, I reckon.
2003, probably 2004 by the time I got to Australia, something like that. But like, Triple J used to do like it was almost like a podcast. What was that called?
I don't know.
It was like with it was like an hour of they just talk to like an artist.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the Hour of Power or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, they interviewed Dizzy Rascal on one of those, and that's how I found about pirate radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, through that. He was talking about it on one of those interviews.
So, yeah, because I remember back then, and it's around about the same time that you were talking about when you got kicked out of Area 51. But I remember going to like Park Life and those sort of festivals, probably like 2006 or something.
Yeah.
And Dizzy Rascal was like headlining that stuff.
Yeah,
with the dance, with the that was
that bass.
But that was when he just started to do that. So before that, but he really crossed over, and then I guess the people on the other side of the world, like here, were like, "Oh man, there is fucking
that bonkers song and shit." Like
that was later. I feel like that's a few years later.
Yeah,
but I think he definitely for a lot of people that we hear, that's where they would have got a little bit of a taste for that sort of stuff from a commercial fucking level.
Absolutely, man. For me, that's definitely like. I was like, oh, he was talking about grime and drum and bass and like on these pirate radio stations. That's definitely what made me fucking. I was like a kid,
But you got to remember, like, the streets. What was that, like 2002?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And now
that was, I reckon, the same era, man. I reckon that's when Fix Up, Look Sharp came out. I reckon the Streets came out around at the same time.
I'm not a grime head, so I don't know, but I feel like the Streets, and I don't know, but I reckon maybe was a little bit before that, but I don't know.
I reckon they were about the same era, but I don't know. I think maybe the Streets was more like 2000. Because I remember they played it actually Big Day Out, and like he got fucking wasted on stage.
But man, those, I still listen to those first two Streets albums now. If I'm just walking the dog or whatever, fucking awesome, man. And like talk about a change in the way that music was. Like it was just so fucking different.
Yeah. Well, he was making different shit. He was like mixing genres almost,
Yeah.
with like that poetry talking, like that Sleaford Mods or whatever style, like.
Which is, I think, I used to listen to it and people were like, oh man, do you actually like this stuff? Like this is like ex-girlfriends that are like, 18 and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but even if you don't like it musically, you've got to appreciate it artistically. Like it's like Paul Kelly spoken word type fucking stuff. Like anyone who can talk about fucking, dropping too many pills and then forgetting to take the DVDs to the shop, on time and make that like somewhat artistic is talented,
100%.
And some of the beats were fucking like just stuff that you'd never really heard before. I hadn't from being a kid over here on the other side of the world.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like he was taking that sort of garage, grime, even, and then like and mixing it with sort of pop styles, and created this album that like so many different genres could appreciate.
And leveraging off that pirate material stuff as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Which over in England, like, that's massive. And like, I think, people are always like, yeah, hip hop born in America, which it was. And like, Bristol and all this, they took shit from New York and put their own spin on it,
But now
they created grime, and like they created like, well, not just Bristol, but the whole of England, you know, and these whole different subcultures of rap.
But
Which
now
still
America's
happen
borrowing
to
it
this-
from them,
Exactly.
right? So they've taken it back, and they're
Exactly.
like, yeah,
And now they get like they've gone, like even America sort of started drill. England have taken it, put their own spin on it. Now America's sort of pinching it back, and it's like, I don't know, the English scene, they're on another level, and I always think it because it's fucking raining all the time over there. They got
it's grimier.
nothing to do. Yeah, they got nothing to do, and you know they're just like pale skinned, just creating shit 'cause they're so bored and depressed. You know, the best art comes from someone who's depressed.
Depression, yeah. But it's like, if you look at that drill sound or drill flow, for lack of a better word, it is very much the grime flow. You know what I mean? Like
it's just 140 beats. It's just like,
but even the
It
way, the
is.
cadence of the way that they're saying, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's very much sort of that same sort of thing.
To me, I think it's got its own twang on it. They're a bit more like, they're more biting each other's style. Like, where grime, you had your Templeton, you had your fucking
Wiley.
President and your Wiley and your fucking Skepta and all these different styles. You know, you even had cunts like what's his name? I always do this. Go blank. Socks.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Devilman. You know, they're all doing grime as well, you know?
Yeah.
General Levy. Like, look at this. Like, it's so different. Like, and that was what made you fucking fresh. But nowadays, people are going back to that, oh, you're trying to sound like the next guy. It's like they're just trying to perfect this sound that someone else came out with, you know?
Yeah. And now you've got subgenres within subgenres, because grime was a subsidiary of rap, and then now you've got, you know, different styles of fucking, you know, it's cool though, like, because who would have thought that there'd be a Melbourne or an Australian grime scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Like 20 years ago, you wouldn't have thought that was really, you know?
That's it. Shout out to people like Fracture and fucking Dime, Scotty Hines, Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Like, they were all pumping it, you know?
Yeah.
And, and heaps of people jumped on board, which I think personally, drill is going to die out. It's like a phase, and grime is there forever. People are still randomly bringing out grime tracks, and it's there. It's still lingering.
In this country, you're talking globally, you're talking about?
In this country.
Okay. Yeah.
Even globally a little bit as well. But no, not globally, England and this country.
Okay.
So I don't really see grime taking off in America, to be honest.
Yeah. But there's lots of other countries that are still doing that same sort of shit, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Even like, say, drum and bass. You know, Melbourne has a fucking shit, like, not shit scene, I shouldn't say that, but Melbourne's scene for drum and bass is very small compared to Western Australia and New Zealand.
They do love it in WA, don't they?
Yeah, and artists will come from the UK and do a tour, and they'll go Perth, New Zealand, and just skip out the whole east coast of Australia, and
in other genres they do the opposite.
There's probably a fucking country in fucking Asia that love grime or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, there's like, you just got to figure out like, and there's always going to be scenes for everything. Like, if you look at places like China, there's a fucking, like, they've got scene, like, there can be 10 dudes doing it. They just meet up, hang out, and break dance or whatever. Like, you know, but there's still a scene, like, so many different scenes. Like,
yeah, and man, and I think we've got the internet to thank for all that sort of stuff, that people can figure out what they like, and that's where a scene can spawn from. You know what I mean?
for sure. It also sucks as well. It's not so special. Think of, like, you had Duggo in here. Think of the stories of him when he started the Cave Clan.
Yeah.
He was writing his P.O. box on the fucking wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, that was a special thing. You've gone all the way down this drain, seen this thing, gone, I'm going to send it. send the letter, fucking forget about it, and then you get a letter back from Duggo. Like,
Yeah. Meet us at this
what?
place, but I didn't get it till 2 days after, and he was already,
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
That makes something special.
Really special.
When you fucking send someone a DM and they send you one back, it's like, oh, you replied. Not like, I've got this letter in my hand. It's just like, this makes it so much more of a
like
thing.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket.
There'll never be another Cave Clan. There'll never be another, like...
Because it was so...
Yeah, there'll never be another fucking, like, even KSA or fucking DMA, because they made themselves, and it was special because of this certain reason, you know, of meeting on the street and, like, yeah.
But I guess like anything, man, we've got to just adapt and go with the times. And like you mentioned, Duggo's been a good dude to me, and he's on the internet now. He's always on the internet. You know what I mean? He's just adapted with the times. Yeah,
you have to. You can't be a jaded old man and be like, oh fuck this. You know, like you can't. Like you literally you're just gonna be that grumpy old dude that hates fucking everything, that hates TV and everything. Because like.
Old man yells at cloud
this whole time, you know, like
yeah.
But like you go to like a festival, and everyone's got their phone away, and there's no phone reception and shit, and people are like, all of a sudden, like, oh my god, I can't believe we met. Like, I can't believe we met up. Like, it's just like, and you see someone 3 times and you haven't seen anyone else, you know, your mates. Like, it must be a thing. Like we keep seeing each other. This is a magical moment. We're gonna be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that shit, I think, at like festivals and shit, that shit still exists.
Technology's got us by the balls, though, man. It really does. Like,
it does, yeah.
Like, I'll turn my phone off for 2 hours while we shoot these things. I'll turn it back on, and then people be like, oh, man, you haven't fucking written back to this. I'm like, then I'm driving home, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you turn yourself off from technology for a few hours, and I feel like, and that's not a good way to be, but that's just the way that we're fucking going. It's a bit sad, dude.
Yeah, yeah. It is what it is.
It is.
That's what I mean. You can't be sad because then you're just gonna be the jaded old man.
Well, man. That brings me to another thing with WHIZ FM and everything. You've got to obviously you've got like Twitch or fucking YouTube or whatever way. You've got multiple platforms. You've got to sort of balance out with that sort of thing. It must make it hard to juggle not just social media but other like SoundCloud, all this sort of shit.
Yeah, it's so hard, and like you got to upload your shit to like every fucking platform, and like half the platforms will cancel your shit for being copyrighted and all this fucking bullshit. It's just like,
so that's why the airwaves is just the better way to do it
for sure.
And
even
if
you didn't hear it, you missed out. That's why you got to be tuned in.
So with the airwave stuff, like it's actually not legal. Like, what law is it? A broadcast law? Like, what's the fucking law?
Oh man, it's heavy. Like it's not even it's not out of police's jurisdiction. The cops can't do really anything about it.
So it's like an APRA fucking thing or some sort of legislation like that.
ACMA.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What does it stand for again? Australian
Media. Australian. No.
Communications and broadcast.
Communications, media, and
whatever
media
it is. Broadcast, I think it is. Media broadcasting. That's what it is. Yeah.
And they literally can hit you with like a fine or shut you down just by fucking using the airwaves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, I think depending on what you're doing with it, I was doing fucking pretty positive things, you know, like, and. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just the government, man. They're just so annoying.
They just tell you what to
do. They ruin something really special to so many people, you know? People, like, would help out at the station and like, be there on a certain day of every week. And, like, that was our thing, you know? We called up. It's fucking Taco Tuesday. Let's go. Like, rah. We had our fucking, you know, like... And for them to come and shut that down because of what? Because someone else was paying and we're not. Like, I don't know. It's pretty shit. And, like, for them to even, like, really broadcast a frequency, to me, is a creation of God. Like, that was... frequencies existed before we did. We're just transmitting them.
Yeah.
So how can they govern something? It's like taking air. It's like them charging for air, almost.
All you're
it's
doing
bullshit.
is amplifying your voice. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah.
But in there, they don't like it because any sort of movement that they don't have a control of, the government don't like.
No.
You know,
And it compromises their fucking stronghold on everybody, you know?
If you're rich, if I was rich and I had heaps of money, this is what this dude told me. So that this station in Sydney this pirate station tried to apply to become legit, and you got to pay like $2,000 to apply, and then once they approve you, then you say, all right, I want 99.9, and then they offer it to everyone else who's already been approved.
To buy it off, yeah.
Yeah, so all these other radio stations, and they got bought out for 800,000. That's their frequency got bought for 800,000 off a bidding. They bid off for it, and
that's their way to eliminate the competition. Yeah,
some Christian fucking thing bought it.
Yeah.
What am I meant to do? I'm like, he goes, bro. The guy told me, he goes, you're probably gonna waste your money if you try.
Yeah.
And
then you're governed by their standards of what you can and can't do.
And like you watch like the documentary on Stretch and Bobbito and shit. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I've seen that, yeah.
But like, you know, when they get commercialised and they get put on the good time slot and they can't swear and shit anymore.
Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah, you hear Big L's verse when he's got to change his lyrics.
Yeah.
It's shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But that's what I'm worried about. Like, so many people are like, why don't you apply? Like, yeah, then we jump all these hurdles, and then we're just constantly jumping them, like, and getting fines and getting in trouble.
Yeah, and then someone else fucks up and says the wrong thing on your airwaves, and then you've got a fine there, and then you've got to, you know. So
yeah, that's it.
If you're not legit, then you're not legit.
Yeah. Know? See, I think, like, I've always been the biggest fan of like PBS and Triple R and these small like Sin FM and like all these other things, but they're all like, I think Triple R might be run by some like started off at like RMIT or something, but they're all big corporations that ACMA know they're not going to jeopardize their name. The RMIT aren't going to jeopardize their name so it's like sort of a safe route, you know, where I just want to. Like, my dream now is to get WHIZ FM going and then have my own show on, say, Triple R or PBS or
to promote
WHIZ FM. Not even to promote, just to have, like, just to do some real radio and get my foot in the door and say, hey, look, I'm legit. I can have a good conversation. I can get good guests in. I can have a good listener base. Fucking give me a go. And then
surely they would give you a go, man.
Probably, maybe. Like, I think, you know, being like, because these stations, they deal with ACMA, and you know, like, they might go, well, we've got all these people applying, are we gonna fucking, you know, put this guy on because he's had trouble with ACMA before and they have already got trouble with him? It's like, are we poking ACMA with a stick?
Yeah.
You know, like, but I think personally that I can do it. Yeah. I could have a station, I could be on the radio without swearing. Like, I can, you know, which is actually also a funny topic too, because I was listening to like Eminem and all this shit that has the explicit logo on it. And like, he's talking about driving around with his baby mama fucking dead in the car with sunglasses on and shit. But then he says, fuck, and they bleep it out.
Yeah.
It's like, hang on a sec. It's the context of what someone's saying can be a lot worse than the actual word, than the swear word. It's almost like saying at that point. When
I think some of that stuff though just goes over the head of whoever is the governing body that, you know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't make sense. And this is what these ACMA people are fucking like. They're like out there finding people and all this shit for like swearing or whatever. But then there's these other topics. They're talking about murdering someone and, you know, you can say whatever you want as long as you don't say the swear word if you use the right words. The context is still there. It doesn't make sense.
Context is king. So you've sort of said where you want to go with WHIZ FM, but where do you want to go with WHIZ the writer? You got plans to go do some big stuff, go overseas? Like, man, I know you've painted overseas before. You know, is that what you want to? Is that what you want to do?
I'm never gonna quit. I think.
Yeah.
I just like it's become who I am. It's a part of like the way I've coped mentally with my life.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think I'm not gonna do legal graffiti, or like try and make money off graffiti in that sense.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep bombing until.
How does it differ painting overseas? Obviously, every country's different than it does here. Like, you know, is it feel more chill here? Do you feel like it's more risky in some places than others? Feel the same sort of rush?
It's all pretty chill. Like, some countries, you know, will like take your paint off you and spray paint your shoes. Some countries will fucking lash ya. Some countries will fucking like, but every country will pretty much let you go home. You know what I mean? Except for like maybe if you're a repeat offender going to America all the time or something.
Yeah.
And the fucking Australian fucking transits are after you.
Yeah.
And they have been for 10 years or something like that. You know, like generally, if there's no heads up like that, they're just going to go, yeah, another graffiti up. Boom. Handball you out the back door in a couple of days at most, you know?
Yeah.
I think, like, I'd probably be more scared of what other people are going to do rather than the law even in other countries.
Just other writers that you sort of...
No. Like...
like vigilante Americans and stuff like
that. Or like any country.
Yeah.
I've been in Vietnam, like, painting with my mate Blaze, and, like, we were painting this wall and rocks are hitting the wall and we're turning around. It's like the Viet Cong or something. It's just like these bushes. Like, there's no one in them. Like, where are these rocks coming from? What the fuck? Start painting again. Bang, bang, bang. Like, fuck. We had to get out of there, you know? Well, that's more scary than fucking getting put into a police station, I reckon.
Yeah.
Maybe in fucking Bangkok police station I was pretty scared, but...
You've been locked up there?
Well, they didn't lock me up. They put me in, like, the interview room. Yeah.
Feel like this?
Yeah, a little bit like the same table.
Yeah, man. That's got to be a bit testy.
Mm.
And at that point, do they just fucking ask you, like, do you have to try and pay them off? Like, how do you even fucking negotiate? Will you just say, I was just painting shit? Like, fuck, how does that even work?
Well, I was lucky that I had, like, a dude who I'd met on the spot who came to the cop shop with me, who just happened to be a graph writer and knew English and Thai, who spoke for me. Otherwise, I'd have been fucked.
Even if they left you there for a few days, man, that would have been a horrible experience, dude.
They were just trying to rinse me for all my cash.
That's all it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they were trying to get like fucking $5,000 out of me or some shit. They're like, look at this fucking rich cunt, which I didn't have at all. I didn't have shit. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to my hotel and call someone or something. They're like, nah. It was like
meeting other heads overseas to paint with, like, or would you rather sort of do it yourself? Like, is it easy to meet people over there, or you just go on solo sort of missions?
Yeah, I don't know, something about it. Like, you always end up running into someone, or someone's there, or you know a writer somehow. In like nearly every country I've fucking been to, it's like, oh, go meet this dude. Yeah, oh yeah, fucking. And you're like, oh, you know, you've seen him up or fucking something. I don't know. You always sort of run into someone. I don't know how, but it just happens. It just
happens. And what about like interstate? Like, obviously, this is a Melbourne podcast, and we love our. Well, I shouldn't say love, but we're pretty graffiti happy here, and it's definitely everywhere.
Yeah,
In other cities, are you met with the same sort of love? Like, is it you find it more daunting in some other cities around Australia?
Yeah, for sure. But like as a visitor, it doesn't really matter
because you get in and get out.
you're just in and out. Doesn't like you like as long as you don't get done on the time, you know. And like, if you got your wits about you, you can be pretty smart about it, you know. Like,
Yeah.
you can pretty much get anything done, especially if you've got a couple of mates watching out for you.
And you got a vehicle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not even the vehicle thing.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Because I think we've
A
got...
lot of the people who get up most in fucking Melbourne, they're running pushies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the push bikes and shit. Like, you don't really even need a car.
You go under the radar more on the push bike as well. No one's really paying attention to you.
Yeah, yes and no. Like I think the fucking transits and shit know about push bikes as well. You know.
But what about these, man? There's definitely dudes like abseiling down the side of fucking buildings and stuff. I'm seeing some spots
Yeah,
now.
for sure. Yeah.
Like that's fucking hectic sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. You live the life. You put the life on the line for what you do. Like, yeah.
There's obviously spots I see and I'm like, man, how did that dude even get there? Like, there's some proper fucking, unless there's a scaffold.
He's done some fucking the PORK.
Yeah.
He's done some really crazy shit. Him and Nosty and shit. Like, even like Pork's still doing it to this day.
But he's not in this country anymore, is he? Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Back in New Zealand, I think, something like that. I can't really speak on his behalf, but
yeah.
I don't really know, to be honest. But so he might be anywhere.
Could be
I don't fucking have a
Who
clue.
knows?
But I know he's fucking hanging off shit. That's what I know.
Man, I don't know. I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is, but I see gongs or gong, man, and that guy's like at some fucking spots. I'm like, fuck, how did that dude get up there?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah, that's what makes you think about it. That's what makes you look and notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why you're doing it. And like, also it's the double-edged sword. Like, you've got the thrill of like people going, what? And then you've also got the thrill of the act of doing it. Yeah, knowing that you might get caught and you're hanging off a fucking building off a rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that that's what people are doing, but man, that's part of the culture. That's what they're doing it for.
Yeah.
That's it. Would you want to shout out, man, your show or your socials or however people could fucking find you? Any merch? I know you might have some merch you're dropping.
Yeah, go cop a t-shirt. It fucking means a lot, honestly. Cop one from Hill Street Paint Shop, or WHIZfm.com, WHIZfm.com. Socials, if you can't find me, you don't get to see it. If you want to fucking find me, just look out on the streets. Look for the weird W that looks like a ball sack.
You don't have to look too far. Check out that throwy. It's up everywhere. All right, man. Thanks for coming, Wiz. I appreciate it, man.
I'll quickly shout out the crew, TKG, 420K, everyone that's been with me throughout the years. Shout out to my girlfriend. You're amazing, Cara, and mum and dad, of course.
Oh man, so heartfelt. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Nah, you gotta look out for your mum, trust.
You got to shout out all the people that are stuck by. I might actually just bring this up because it was something I was going to ask since you mentioned your family before we wrap it up. How do you explain to them what you do? Because like I struggle with my nan, even telling her what she has no idea what I'm like. She's like, "What are you doing with a podcast?" I'm like, I don't know. She's got no idea. How do you explain pirate radio to your family?
Well, basically, my parents have grown up with me my whole life doing the weirdest shit and like always being into something different. So I think they're sort of used to this sort of escapades now, where I was a bit more. Now I'm older. I'm like, doing whatever I want, and they can't really stop me. So why not tell them? But back in the day, I was a bit more secretive and slowly let things out. But yeah, no, they're used to it. Like, Mum cried when she listened to one of my podcasts.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, but like
in a positive way because she was happy, or because she was. Or not?
Yeah, it wasn't that positive. It was just a bad story. I don't want to bring it up, obviously, but yeah,
wow, okay.
It was like a stupid thing that I did, and I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't even think my mum was going to listen.
Yeah.
But she's probably going to listen to this. So. But you just get over it. Like, I love Mum, and like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? It's your parents. Like, you cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're gonna love. Like, they're going to hate some things, but at the end of the day, like, if I had done what my mum had told me to do,
You wouldn't be happy.
I'd be a cabinet maker in Bayswater. So there you go.
And you wouldn't be happy.
No, I wouldn't be happy. No.
And that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, and Mum loves to see me happy. So
Exactly.
there you go. I'm happy, Mum. Love ya.
Good on you, Mrs. Whiz. All right. Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I do appreciate you taking the time. And, yeah, I hope to see WHIZ FM back in full strength pretty soon, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be back. Don't worry.
And I'm sure we'll see more whiz throwers around as well.
That you will.
Thanks for that, man. Cheers.
Peace.
3,000.